I'm so grateful that you watched this video. It means a lot to me because it is a very personal story. And while I try to bring as much value to your life as possible, I also think that it is good to know why it is so important for me to help you on your journey. I try to make it as short as possible so you can get back to the more useful stuff. In 2016, my daughter was born. And this was the best and the worst day of my life. To hold your child for the first time is one of those feelings you will never forget. It is not just the beginning of a new life, but it is also your second chance. Anything you did before that moment does not matter anymore, but everything you do now determines the future of another human being. That alone should be enough to rethink our entire life and where we're heading with it. But what made this moment even more memorable for me was that just 24 hours before, I lost my father. He died just hours before my daughter was born. The saying is, one goes, one comes, and in this case, it couldn't be any truer. Back in the days, throughout my teenage years and almost my entire 20s, I didn't take care of myself. I ate shitty food, smoked weed like others smoke cigarettes, and I was drunk half of the week. And I looked accordingly. Fast forward to 2016 when our daughter was born. About a week before she was due, my sister called me and told me that my father was dying. It was unexpected. He had cancer a few years back and he was in pretty decent shape. But somehow he got a lung infection and had to undergo a routine operation, which I didn't know at the time. However, something went wrong and he was put into an induced coma. It was just a matter of time that he would pass away, and the doctors gave him about a week. So I had to decide, am I flying home to say goodbye to my father and see him for a last time and miss the birth of my daughter, or I'm staying with my wife and support her in that time. The flight alone is 30 hours from Australia to Germany, so there was just no way that I would have made it back on time. Trust me, it was a really hard decision. So much that my wife told me to fly, because seeing me like this was making her anxious, and that's not a good state to be in just before giving birth. Of course I decided to stay and suck it up. I had to be there for my wife and for my newborn child. I think that was the only right thing to do. I mean, for nothing in the world I would have missed the arrival of my daughter. So fast forward to the day of labor. I received the call around 3 a.m. that my father just passed away, and after talking to my family and crying for a while, I finally fell asleep. And when I woke up a few hours later, my wife told me that the baby was coming, so there was no time to grieve. Anyone who ever went through labor knows how special that moment is, even though we forget, because that is just what humans do. We forget about the bad things, the pain and the suffering. Of course, it stays in our mind, but the feeling disappears. That's why we do the same mistakes over and over again. My wife went through a lot of physical pain, but for me it was a mental challenge. It was a roller coaster of emotions and feelings. The suffering of childbirth and my powerlessness to help, and the excitement to soon hold my child, and at the same time the grief of losing my father. It was surreal and paralyzing, but the moment she was born, healthy and happy, nothing else mattered anymore. Not just that I was holding my child, but I also knew that every single decision in my life brought me to this particular moment. I promised her, and myself of course, that I will be the best person I could possibly be in any aspect of my life. When I finally got in the car and I was by myself, I screamed. I screamed my heart and my soul out. It was a scream of pleasure and pain. All the tension I accumulated over the time had to go somewhere. The funny thing is that life teaches us the greatest lessons. We might not realize it right then and there, but when we look back, we know it was the only way for us to learn. And that was the moment when I decided to make some big changes in my life. I want to share my journey to inspire you as well, to take better care of yourself. I want to share the importance of exercising and eating healthy. While we can't get a guarantee or prevent everything that could happen to us, we can give it our best shot. We can do everything in our power to be around for as long as possible, to see our children grow up, to be there when they are getting married and run around with our grandchildren. I never expected that my father and my daughter would never meet, but unfortunately that's the case, and that taught me how precious life is and how important it is to take care of ourselves. We are role models for our children. If we don't teach them how to live a healthy and happy life, who will? That's it, and I hope you understand where my drive is coming from, and I'll see you in the next video.